What you just heard is the new Tonemaster Princeton Reverb by Fender. Let's just say that since they introduced the first Tonemaster in the Deluxe and in the Twin, I knew in my heart that there was going to be a Princeton. And the Princeton is my favorite amp of all time. So for it to come into Fender anyway, to come into the Tonemaster range is an exciting thing for me, and I waited a long time, and here I finally have it. You heard it. It sounds fantastic, especially clean because that's what they do. But it also has the tremolo / vibrato, depending on who you ask in 2022. And it sounds thusly. So those are the two main sounds out of the way. Let's just get those straight out of the way and say in the manner of review that this thing is fantastic and I absolutely love it. And it was not sponsored and I paid for it with my own money and there's no shilling or none of that garbage going on. Anyway, let's talk about the amp. So it's a 12-watt amp. A couple of questions that have come up lately in comments are, is it a 12-watt solid state or is it a 12-watt like a tube amp? That's not the idea. The idea with the modeler is to make it basically act and sound like a 12-watt amp. The actual wattage, I don't know what the actual wattage is, but it is not equivalent to either of those, if that makes sense. There's that out of the way. It has two different inputs, and of course a regular Princeton had this too, but I don't know that a lot of people knew what it was for. This is input 2 is 6 dB down from input 1 because it's kind of hard sometimes with a guitar with humbuckers like this here Texas Toast Challenger X with DAFs in it to remain clean on a 12-watt amp. So if you use input 2 and play, this is what it sounds like. So this will be before and after switching inputs. So it drops it down 6 dB, so now you get a cleaner sound with a little bit hotter pickups than a normal single coil like what was in the Silver Sky or in a Strat style guitar, so that makes total sense. The input, the intensity and the speed on the tremolo work really good. The reverb is awesome. It's really springy. If you turn it all the way up and give it a smack on the strings, you can hear the springiness of the digital reverb because it's all digital obviously, and it sounds freaking fantastic. Now, let's talk about the actual other features besides the ones that we know on the Princeton. The little jewel light over here has two different colors, an amber and a red, that tells you when it is all the way on. Like, that's the warm up, and now we see it's warming up like it's flashing, and then it will turn red when it's on, And so now we're on, but if we want to mute the speaker, it will turn orange, and then that way you'll know that you're only going direct out to your computer or whatever. Let's flip this thing around and talk about those features. Now you're probably seeing a bunch of videos about this already, but it's got a Jensen speaker in it. It's got a foot switch that goes to a 2-button foot switch that controls the reverb and the vibrato tremolo. It's got a it's got a output level for the line. So an XLR right now is going to the computer, and I can control if I want. I actually have it all the way down because my preamp is really good over there, so it's fine. But let's say you're going to do a long run from this to a board or something, you need to boost the signal a little bit, you can use this knob right here. There's a ground lift to deal with hum problems if you have them, and there are 2 impulse responses available and an off. So you can go with no impulse response, that's super flat and boring, or you could go with impulse response 1, which is very Fendery. You go to impulse response 2, and it gives you a little fatter bass, kind of heavy, a little bit more low end response. Now over here, we've got 0.3 watts, 0.75 watts, 1.5 watts, 3 watts, 6 watts, and the full 12 watts. I really like this. This amp is very responsive to how power scaling would work on a normal amp. Remember, it's only a single channel amp. So, like on a normal Princeton, if you just set everything at 5 and play it, except for the reverb, because the reverb's pretty springy, maybe a reverb at like 2.5 or 3, and then all the other knobs at 5, everything at 5. It just sounds great. It starts to break up a little bit on the edge, something like that. It's really, really cool. Then if you want to just crank the volume all the way up, you get a really nice sound. Now here's the thing, when you scale it back, it just does that sooner. It makes it to where everything happens more quickly and at a lower volume. Since it's digital, it's not losing tube efficiency, because when you power scale a tube, you have other factors involved that this doesn't have. So it's kind of nice. I really like that that doesn't deal with that. It doesn't have a problem with that. There's a USB thing underneath here for doing firmware updates. And then the mute button is the standby like in an old amp, and then the on and off, but it just mutes the speaker. Mutes the speaker. So it's a pine cabinet. Sounds pretty awesome. When we posted the unboxing of this video on YouTube the other day, in the comments, there was some pretty lively discussions about it, obviously, because it's a digital amp, and tube amp people aren't supposed to like digital amps and whatever. I mean, I like all of them, so I think they're all cool. There's no wrong answer here. One of the main objections in the comments the other day was it doesn't have enough options. For $800 or whatever it costs, it should not have It should have a bunch of profiles, and it should have 50 sounds and a bunch of everything like all the other digital amps. Those digital amps are cool. Everything with multiple profiles in them, you know, Kempers and Axe FX, and even the less expensive ones like the Catalyst, the Boss, Katana, where they've got 5 or 6 sounds going at the same time. They're great, and people like that stuff. However, there is a crowd of people, and it's pretty big. I am actually part of that crowd, who, now I've owned a Kemper. I've owned almost all of those modeling amps. And what I've found is I only use 1 or 2 sounds of all of them. I use a really good clean sound, and I use a driven sound in the profiles that I like. And I gravitate back towards Fender style sounds. I am a Fender amp guy. So, and I'm a Princeton guy because I like the low wattage with a P90 or with our DAF pickups like in this Challenger X. I really, really like a low wattage amp that breaks up easy. So this is it for me. Digital is fine. It sounds great. It only weighs 20 pounds. I like the fact that I can record out of it. I can play quietly. Like right now, it's whatever time at night, and I'm able to record this video and not disturb anyone and enjoy playing with or without. Well, it doesn't have a headphone jack, so I use the headphones through the Focusrite, but which is kind of a bummer. It doesn't have a headphone jack. Fender, put a headphone jack in. But it's awesome. So it is one-dimensional in the fact that it sounds like an amp. But 99% of people play an amp, and they maybe have another amp. Sometimes for me, the modelers with tons and tons of buttons on them end up with kind of some option paralysis that I just don't really care for. I just want to plug in and play. I just want to flip the switch on, plug the guitar in, and play. And I want to twist real knobs. I want to twist knobs that do things and are familiar. I don't want to have to go through menus and click through a bunch of stuff. So, if you are a tinkerer, if you like all of that stuff and building profiles and playing with the apps and doing all the stuff, and you are in the digital age like me in 2022, then get a Kemper, get an Axe FX, get a Catalyst, get a Line 6 Helix. Those things are amazing. But if you're kind of in the middle on it, where you're like, I like the sounds that I like, and I'm a Fender guy, and I like the Fender sounds, like me, then get one of these. And it will be the coolest amp ever, because it does all of the conveniences of the digital side of the world, like lightness and convenience for recording and all of those things, and playing quiet when you want, or gigging it, doesn't matter, you could do either one. And it sounds great all the way around and gives you all those options, but it's just a Princeton. So if you're that guy, then that's who this is for. If you like to twiddle your own knobs and you like to actually play with a regular amp, then this is the one. That's what I think about it. I really, 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 really like it. I knew I would. I told Leslie yesterday when I pulled it out of the box, I have really high expectations for this thing, and I hope it doesn't disappoint me because I've been wanting it for a long time. And so far, and I've played it for hours, I've played this thing a lot with a bunch of different guitars, with a bunch of different setups. We are going to do a video just with pedals because we've got a couple of pedal demos coming up that I'm going to show you. We're going to do a demo of the Origin Effects Halcyon, and we're going to use this amp to do it, and I think it's going to be pretty cool because Fender style amps and Tube Screamer-ish sort of things are cool. So stay tuned for that. Hit the like button and the subscribe button so you can be around for that one. But I just think it's a use case situation. If this is not your use case, then you won't like it. But if you just play an amp and you want the convenience of the digital world, this is the jam. And it is really good. And when you think about pricing wise, it's right in there, because when you look at other amps, well, tube amps are twice this, and then most of them, and then you start to look at some of the digital ones that have really good quality sounds. with a speaker, with all these other recording things, I think it's kind of right in there. I kind of like it. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. This has been Dylan Talks Tone. I hope you enjoyed this. We will dive into this amp more. This is just kind of a quick rundown to give you an idea what is here, so you can hear some sounds. Let me know what you think in the comments. I've got a lot of more playing to do and really get to know it, but I really, really, really like it. It reacts to the guitar very well. It reacts to your hands very well. Sounds great when you play it through headphones, through a USB interface. It's easy to record with. It's easy. Flip it on and go. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next video.